Welcome back, Fish on Northwest. We are here at the Bait Lab. Remember, Bait Labs are brought to you by Max Lure and, of course, Sport Co. Everything you see on the table here can be bought either in-store or at Sport Co. online. Tonight, talking about some of the useful options that have been performing very well for us out here in the shallow marine area fisheries. We have a number of these options out here in the coastal region that are not too far outside of Westport. And I'm talking 18 to 25 feet of water, fresh coho coming in out of the ocean, and a great option for a troll fishery. And you can leave the downriggers at home. It's a lead fishery, much like what we do all over the Columbia River, upper Columbia River, and even other parts of our saltwater options. So what does this basically look like as we break it down? I want to walk you through what has been working for us and performing very well. First of all, first and foremost, the rod. Of course, we're using edge rods. These are the 1065 SAR 1065 360 Pro, and they work fantastic whether you're using a 360 rotating flasher or an inline flasher. It's a lead fishery. These rods are designed for lead fisheries, although they work fantastic in your downrigger as well, so it's basically a 2-for-1. But I prefer the 10.5 foot rods. We're loading these things up with anywhere from 12 to 20 ounces of lead, and they perform very well. So I load this up with 60-pound braid, and this little gadget right here, you've heard me talk about it before. This is our weed grabber, and it basically is a size 3 barrel swivel. I put a bead on first because if that does come in contact with my guide, I want that bead to protect it. Size 3 barrel swivel, and these barbecue skewers, these wooden skewers, I'm cutting to about 3 to 4 inches in length, and it fits right on through that eye, that lower eye of your barrel swivel there, and it fixes in there. It doesn't weaken or fray the braid. It holds up very well, and it slides. So you can move this up and down away from your gear. As that drags through the water, that's grabbing weeds, eelgrass, all kinds of stuff. It keeps it from getting down here into your swivels, your chain swivels, all your rotating gear. This actually does a really good job at catching a majority of the debris before it gets into your gear, and it's way easier to clean off of this stick than it is once it gets wrapped up in all these swivels. So it's adjustable, and if it's 2-3 feet up your line and you're reeling down to fight a fish, you can reel that bead right against your guide, and it's going to literally push it right down to the very end of where it's going to terminate there. So that does slide, it moves, it works fantastic. You guys need to give that a try. So from the braid, we go down to a dual lock barrel swivel that, very strong and durable. This is like an 80-pound rated. I like to make sure the gear that we're going to run is going to last, not break down. I connect that to a bead chain that I've tied onto my bumper. Now, for this particular fishery, I'm building bumpers out of 200-pound mono, and they are at 24 inches. This is what gives me the distance between where my weight is hanging down, and if I put a rotating 360 flasher out here, I want that distance to be away from the weight, so I go with 24. It's been working. Now you can make these 30, you can make them 14. It depends on your fishery, on the distance you want to create between the weight and the bumper and putting the action on your rotators. I am using the VIP sliding lock. They work fantastic. If you haven't used those before, you need to. It locks that swivel in place so that all this that's spinning down below here transitions on through this slider, and it doesn't spin your line up. So that works really well to keep that from rotating and spinning up your braid, okay? That also has a dual lock on it. 12-inch dropper. I'm fishing a 12-inch dropper in this fishery. Now, some fisheries you can choose not to fish a dropper. Other fisheries you may lengthen that out. 12 inches is working for us. We're hitting these 20-ounce leads right off the bottom, coming up one crank, and then we know we're right in the zone where the fish are going to be. Yeah, predominantly you would think about using that for Chinook, but I'm telling you, on this Coho fishery, they're also tucking down there close to the bottom because, again, we're only fishing at times 17, 18, maybe 20 feet of water. Those fish are down in just above the mud. So 12-inch dropper, 24-inch bumper. That is going to go to either my inline rotator or my 360 flasher. Now, I've been using the BMK YBC inline, and I am putting that directly to my bumper. Even though it's not a wide rotator like a 360, I still want to have that distance because it helps generate distance between the weight and your rotating flasher. I've gone to the 10-inch flashers. You can use the 8-inch out there. Was catching fish on those as well. Some of these shallow water marine fisheries do tend to stir up quite a bit of dirt. quite a bit of sediment on those tide changes. You get a lot of weeds, a lot of debris floating in there. It's not very deep, so that stuff doesn't have a lot of area to go. So you'll see the water turn color. At times, the more flash you can put out, the more attractant. The other thing that's key, I don't need to run a 5-foot leader behind this flasher to my Rice Davis bait helmet. I've shortened that up to a 40, say 42 inch at the most, but I'm at about a 40-inch leader. Lots of flash on this, especially when the sun comes out in the dirty water. Short leader with UV coming off of those baits. Fire brine, chartreuse on our red label herring. I'm also using a natural fire brine on our anchovy with just a shot of blue in there, and I've added Atlas Mike's anise oil as well, just to give a little different scent on the anchovy. So basically the breakdown is the inline rotator gets a 40-inch leader to a herring, fire brine chartreuse herring in a helmet, 20 ounces of lead on my front rods, hit the bottom, come up a crank, set them, and always make sure you're staying in contact with bottom every so often. And also, about every 10 minutes or so, you want to bring your gear up and check for weeds. Get the weeds off the weed grabber, make sure your gear is clean, make sure there's no weeds on your bait, and you're fishing clean. 360 rotators, been using the Brads, revolutionary, fantastic. The breakaway is flawless, and they work so well. And when I'm putting those in my rotation, heavy rods up front, rotators out the back, 12 ounces of lead, and I'm not necessarily trying to get this off the bottom and then bring it up. I will set these at anywhere from 24, 26, 28 feet on the line counter and just let them sit back there elevated and rotate. Running a 30-inch leader to a bait helmet on the backs of these with the anchovy, just because it affords a lot more whip on that bait, and I think it gives a lot more attractability. So the chartreuses and greens work really well in stained water. The reds and moon jelly patterns work really good in stained water. If I'm fishing spinners, yep, they work out there too. 24 inches on the spinners. And the spinners that I'm tying up, I've switched to making something that's a combination. We have at times clear water, other times we have some debris and stained water. So when I tie these up, I'm using a double skirt on our hoochies. Our skirts are UV on the outside, either pink or orange, and I put a full-on glow skirt underneath, okay? So these are basically silver horde, 2.5 hoochies. You can get them all over the place. The pink has tremendous UV and glow, and of course in the glow is a lot of glow. So getting into that darker stained water, I recommend using a UV and a glow. Couple different blade patterns I have stuck with. The VIP Coast Guard's working well, Mexican hat. Those are great combinations with these pink and glow patterns. Again, 24-inch leaders on the spinners. Some days they're working, some days it's completely bait. We were out in that area Sunday. Every fish we hooked was on bait. I was running herring on the front rod, sardines out the back, all rods got bit. You just got to kind of move back and forth, right? And you can, troll direction, speed, all those things count. But as far as rigging, this is what's getting it done for us day in and day out there. And we're going to continue to do it. Again, inline rotators or the Brad's 360 flashers out the back. Shorten up your leaders so you get lots of flash right in front of your bait, and you'll probably find success. All right, it's going to do it for us here in the Bait Lab. Jump out for a quick commercial break. We come back, we'll be in studio, have a little hunt talk with Tommy.